A man once cried because every door in his life was closing. His friends left, his plans broke, his peace disappeared, and he thought, Allah is taking everything from me. But years later, he understood something that shook his heart. Allah was not taking his life apart. Allah was taking him out of a chapter that was too small for his soul. Sometimes the pain you feel is not the end. Sometimes it is Allah turning the page before you even understand the story. So if your heart is heavy right now, listen carefully. This may be one of the signs Allah is preparing your next chapter. Lesson 1. When Allah breaks your old peace to build your real rank. There is a kind of peace that feels comforting, but it is quietly keeping you from growing. You wake up every day, and nothing seems terribly wrong. Your routine is familiar. The people around you are the same. Your plans feel predictable. You know what tomorrow will probably look like because it looks almost exactly like yesterday. It feels safe. But sometimes, what feels safe is not what is best for your soul. There comes a moment when Allah, in His perfect wisdom, allows that comfort to be disturbed. Suddenly, things begin to change. A relationship becomes difficult. A door that always seemed open suddenly closes. A plan you worked so hard for falls apart. Your heart begins carrying a weight it never carried before. At first, you think something has gone terribly wrong. You ask yourself, why is this happening to me? You wonder why Allah would allow your life to become so painful when all you wanted was peace. But what if the peace you were protecting was preventing the person Allah wanted you to become? Many people believe that peace means everything going exactly as they planned. But the peace Allah wants for His servant is much deeper than temporary comfort. Real peace is not having everything you want. Real peace is having a heart that remains close to Allah, whether life is easy or difficult. Sometimes Allah breaks your worldly comfort because your soul has become too comfortable with this temporary world. Without realizing it, your heart begins depending on people instead of Allah. You begin trusting your plans more than His wisdom. You begin feeling secure because of your job, your relationships, your money, or your achievements. These things are blessings from Allah, but they were never meant to become the foundation of your heart. The foundation belongs to Allah alone. So when your heart slowly begins leaning too heavily on creation, Allah may lovingly shake that foundation, not because He wants to hurt you, because He wants to save you. Think about a building with hidden cracks inside its foundation. From the outside, everything looks beautiful. People admire it. The owner feels proud of it. But an experienced engineer knows that if those cracks are ignored, one day the entire building will collapse. So what does the engineer do? He tears apart sections that appear perfectly fine. It creates noise. Dust fills the air. The owner becomes upset because it looks like destruction. But the engineer is not destroying the building. He is protecting it from a much greater collapse. Allah's wisdom works in ways that our limited understanding cannot always see. Sometimes the life you are crying over is the very life Allah is protecting you from. Sometimes the opportunity you lost would have carried hidden harm. Sometimes the relationship that ended would have slowly weakened your faith. Sometimes the success you wanted would have filled your heart with pride instead of gratitude. Allah sees what you cannot see. He knows tomorrow while you only know today. He knows what people hide inside their hearts while you only see their smiles. He knows which doors contain blessing and which doors contain regret. That is why a believer learns something very important. Never judge Allah's plan while you are still inside the chapter. Many stories only make sense after they are finished. Have you ever looked back at a painful moment years later and realized it became one of the greatest blessings in your life? At the time, you begged Allah to remove the pain. Today, you thank Him for not answering your prayer the way you wanted. This is how faith grows. Faith does not mean understanding every reason behind every hardship. Faith means trusting the one who understands everything. My brother, my sister, perhaps the greatest danger is not pain. Perhaps the greatest danger is becoming so comfortable that your heart stops growing. Comfort can slowly make you forget your dependence on Allah. Comfort can make your prayers become rushed. Comfort can make gratitude disappear. Comfort can make this temporary world feel permanent. Then suddenly, Allah sends a test, not to destroy your life, but to wake up your heart. Many of the people whom Allah honored throughout history experienced seasons where their world was shaken before their rank was raised. They faced hardship before ease, loneliness before honor, patience before victory. This teaches us an important lesson. Elevation often begins with separation. Allah separates you from false security before giving you true security. He separates you from unhealthy attachments before giving you sincere love. He separates you from temporary comfort before giving you lasting peace. This process is never easy. No one enjoys losing what they love. No one enjoys uncertainty. No one enjoys waiting. Even the strongest believer feels sadness. Feeling pain does not mean your faith is weak. Crying does not mean your trust has disappeared. The prophets themselves experienced grief, loss, rejection, and hardship. The difference was not that they never suffered. The difference was where they turned during suffering. They turned back to Allah. That is exactly what your pain may be inviting you to do today. Instead of asking only, "Why is this happening?" try asking another question. What is Allah teaching my heart through this? That single question changes everything. Instead of seeing yourself as someone abandoned, you begin seeing yourself as someone being trained. Instead of seeing only loss, you begin looking for wisdom. Instead of chasing immediate relief, you begin asking Allah for lasting guidance. And something beautiful starts happening. The same hardship that once made you feel broken begins making you stronger. The same disappointment that once filled your heart with sadness begins teaching you patience. The same closed door that once frustrated you begins leading you toward a better path. Slowly, your heart changes. You become less impressed by this world. You become more grateful for small blessings. You become quicker to remember Allah during both happiness and hardship. You begin understanding that your greatest treasure is not what you own, it is the relationship you build with your Lord. That is the real rank. People often think rank means status, wealth, influence, or recognition. But the highest rank is not the one people see, it is the one Allah sees. A heart full of trust, a soul full of sincerity, a servant who continues worshipping Allah whether life is easy or difficult. A believer whose faith becomes stronger after every test instead of weaker. If Allah is breaking your old peace today, do not assume He is removing His mercy from you. Perhaps He is removing the peace that was keeping you spiritually asleep. Perhaps He is preparing a peace that does not depend on money, people, success, or circumstances. A peace that comes from knowing that no matter what happens, Allah is enough. And when a servant reaches that level of trust, no worldly storm can truly destroy them. Because their peace no longer comes from the world, their peace comes from the one who controls the world. Maybe that is exactly the rank Allah is preparing you for. Lesson 2. The pain that pulls you back to Allah is a hidden mercy. There are two kinds of pain in this world. One kind pushes a person farther away from Allah. The other kind brings a servant closer to Him than they have ever been before. The pain itself may look the same. Both people cry. Both people lose. Both people experience disappointment. Both people lie awake at night wondering what tomorrow will bring. But the destination of their hearts becomes completely different. One heart becomes filled with anger, resentment, and hopelessness. The other becomes softer, humbler, and more dependent upon Allah. This is why pain is not the greatest test. The greatest test is what pain does to your heart. My brother, my sister, have you noticed that many people only remember Allah deeply when life becomes difficult? When everything is going well, they become busy. Prayer becomes rushed. Gratitude becomes smaller. The Quran sits on the shelf for days. The heart slowly fills with confidence in itself instead of confidence in Allah. Without even realizing it, worldly life begins occupying the space that remembrance of Allah once filled. Then one unexpected moment changes everything. A diagnosis, a betrayal, a financial hardship, a broken relationship, a loss that no one saw coming. Suddenly, the heart that barely raised its hands in dua begins calling upon Allah every single day. The eyes that rarely cried begin shedding sincere tears. The tongue begins repeating words of remembrance that had almost been forgotten. Was the hardship pleasant? No. But look carefully at what it produced. It produced sincerity. Sometimes Allah gives you something through hardship that comfort could never have given you. Think about your own life. Was there ever a time when you felt closer to Allah than during one of your hardest seasons? Many believers will admit something surprising. The period they never want to experience again became the period that changed them forever. Before the hardship, they knew about Allah. After the hardship, they depended upon Allah. There is a huge difference. It is easy to say we trust Allah when every prayer seems to be answered immediately. Real trust appears when the answer is delayed. It appears when the future is unclear. It appears when everyone else has walked away, yet you still believe Allah has not abandoned you. That is where true faith is built. Allah does not need our pain. He is free of all needs. We are the ones who need Him. Sometimes our hearts become covered with layers of distraction, pride, dependence upon people, and love for this temporary world. Those layers become so thick that we stop noticing them. Then Allah allows a hardship to peel those layers away. It hurts, because attachments are never removed without pain. If someone has held something tightly for many years, opening that hand will never be easy. Our hearts become attached to people, attached to dreams, attached to careers, attached to expectations. Sometimes even attached to versions of ourselves that Allah knows we must outgrow. Then Allah gently, or sometimes suddenly, begins removing what our hearts depended on. Not because He enjoys seeing us cry, because He knows the only attachment that will never disappoint us is our attachment to Him. Every created thing has limits. People leave, money disappears, health changes, opportunities come and go. Even our own strength rises and falls. Only Allah remains constant. Only Allah never sleeps. Only Allah never forgets. Only Allah never changes. That is why the strongest heart is not the one that depends on itself. The strongest heart is the one that depends completely upon Allah. You may not realize it today, but perhaps the greatest gift hidden inside your pain is that it forced you to discover who your real source of peace truly is. You stopped looking for complete happiness in people. You stopped expecting the world to fill the emptiness only Allah can fill. You began understanding that every created thing is temporary. Only Allah is permanent. That understanding changes everything. It changes how you love. It changes how you work. It changes how you face disappointment. Because now your heart has somewhere unshakable to return. When another hardship comes, you still feel sadness, but you no longer feel abandoned, because you know who controls every hardship. When another door closes, you still feel disappointment, but you also know Allah can open doors that never even crossed your mind. When another person leaves your life, your heart still hurts, but deep inside, you know that Allah never leaves the believer who sincerely turns back to Him. Never underestimate a hardship that brings you back to prayer. Never underestimate tears that soften your heart. Never underestimate the pain that teaches you humility. Sometimes those moments become the reason Allah raises a servant higher than years of comfort ever could. Your pain may have interrupted your plans, but if it brought you closer to Allah, then it has already given you something far greater than what it took away. One day, when you stand before Allah, you may discover that the hardship you begged Him to remove became one of the greatest reasons for your closeness to Him. And on that day, you will understand that hidden mercy often arrives wearing the clothes of pain. Lesson 3. When your heart changes, your next chapter is already beginning. Most people think Allah changes lives by changing circumstances first. They believe the new job comes first, the marriage comes first, the success comes first, the opportunity comes first, then happiness follows. But Allah often works in the opposite direction. Before He changes your surroundings, He changes your heart. Because if your heart remains the same, you will carry the same weaknesses into every new blessing. A different city cannot fix an unchanged heart. More money cannot heal an empty soul. A better relationship cannot remove spiritual emptiness. A bigger house cannot create inner peace. Real change begins where no one else can see, inside the heart. This is why one of the clearest signs that Allah is preparing your next chapter is not that your circumstances have already improved. It is that your heart is no longer the same. You begin noticing things that never bothered you before. Sins that once felt small now make your heart uncomfortable. Conversations that once entertained you now leave you feeling empty. You lose interest in constantly proving yourself to people. Their praise matters less. Their criticism hurts less. You become less interested in impressing creation and more interested in pleasing your Creator. That is not weakness. That is growth. Many people spend years asking Allah to change their life while resisting the change Allah wants to make inside them. They ask for blessings without asking for better character. They ask for success without asking for wisdom. They ask for honor without asking for humility. But Allah knows that blessings without preparation can become burdens. Imagine pouring pure water into a dirty container. The water is clean, but the container changes it. In the same way, Allah often purifies the heart before increasing the blessing. Not because the blessing is delayed without reason, but because He wants the blessing to remain a blessing. Perhaps that is exactly what is happening in your life right now. You may feel as though nothing around you has changed, yet inside, everything is changing. You are becoming more patient, more careful with your words, more aware of your prayers, more grateful for small blessings, more forgiving, more humble, more willing to admit your mistakes. These changes may seem small, but in the sight of Allah, they are enormous. People often celebrate visible success. Allah looks at the condition of the heart. Because your heart determines how you will use every blessing He gives you. A heart filled with gratitude uses blessings differently than a heart filled with arrogance. A heart filled with trust responds differently than a heart filled with fear. A heart filled with sincerity lives differently than a heart seeking constant attention. That is why Allah sometimes spends months, or even years, preparing a servant internally before opening a single external door. Preparation is not punishment. Preparation is mercy. Think about a farmer. Before planting valuable seeds, he first removes the weeds. He softens the soil. He clears the stones. He prepares the ground. To someone watching from a distance, it looks like nothing important is happening. But the farmer knows the unseen work determines the future harvest. Allah prepares hearts in a similar way. He removes pride. He removes unhealthy dependence upon people. He removes hidden arrogance. He removes false expectations. He removes love for what harms the soul. Each removal hurts, but every removal creates space. Space for stronger faith, space for deeper trust, space for sincere gratitude, space for lasting peace. That is why your current season may feel confusing. You feel different. Your priorities are changing. Your dreams are changing. Your friendships are changing. Your understanding of success is changing. Even your prayers begin changing. Instead of asking only for worldly things, you begin asking Allah for guidance. Instead of asking for an easy life, you begin asking for a faithful heart. Instead of asking only for quick answers, you begin asking for whatever pleases Him most. That transformation is not accidental. It is one of the clearest signs that Allah is already writing your next chapter. The chapter has not begun because your surroundings changed. It has begun because you changed. The world simply has not caught up yet. Do not become discouraged if people cannot see your growth. The greatest transformations are usually invisible. Roots grow before branches appear. The foundation is built before the building rises. The sunrise begins long before the first light reaches your eyes. Likewise, Allah often begins changing your destiny deep within your heart before anyone notices anything different about your life. Trust that process. Do not rush it. Do not compare your chapter with someone else's. Allah is writing your story with perfect wisdom. Every lesson is intentional. Every delay has purpose. Every hardship is measured with complete knowledge. If your heart is becoming softer, if your trust in Allah is becoming stronger, if your love for this temporary world is becoming smaller, then believe that something beautiful is already happening. The greatest miracle may not be the blessing you are waiting to receive. The greatest miracle may be the new person Allah is creating while you wait. Because once your heart becomes ready, the chapter that follows will not simply change your circumstances, it will change your entire life. Lesson 4. The delay is training you for a blessing your old self could not carry. There is a question that almost every believer asks at some point in life. Why is Allah making me wait? You made dua with sincerity. You tried to obey Allah. You stayed away from what you knew was wrong. You remained patient through disappointment after disappointment. You watched doors close. You watched opportunities disappear. You watched other people receive what you had been praying for. Yet your own answer seemed delayed. Days became months, months became years. And sometimes, if we are honest, the heart quietly whispers, "Has Allah forgotten me? My brother, my sister?" The answer is no. Allah never forgets the servant who calls upon Him. Not one tear escapes His knowledge. Not one prayer disappears into the air. Not one moment of patience is ever wasted. Every second is known by the one who created time itself. But there is something we often forget. We see life through today's pain. Allah sees your entire journey from beginning to end. You see one page. Allah sees the whole book. This is why what feels like a painful delay to you may actually be perfect timing in the sight of Allah. Imagine giving a child the keys to a powerful vehicle before they know how to drive. The child may cry because they are told to wait. They may think the parents are being unfair. They may believe they are ready. But the parents see a danger the child cannot understand. Their refusal is not rejection, it is protection. Allah's wisdom is infinitely greater. Sometimes you ask for something that is good. Marriage, children, success, a career, financial stability, recognition, healing. These are not bad things to ask for. But Allah knows something you do not. He knows whether your heart is prepared to carry what you are requesting. Because every blessing comes with responsibility. Marriage requires patience. Wealth requires gratitude. Influence requires humility. Leadership requires justice. Knowledge requires sincerity. If Allah gives these blessings before the heart is ready, what was supposed to become a mercy can slowly become a trial. This is why Allah often prepares the servant before He provides the blessing. We usually pray, Allah, change my situation. But Allah may first say, I will change you. Because an unchanged heart can destroy a beautiful blessing. Think about rain. Rain is one of Allah's greatest blessings. But if the ground is hard and dry, the water cannot be absorbed properly. The earth must first be softened. It must be prepared. Only then can the rain produce life. Your heart is no different. Sometimes Allah softens it through hardship. Sometimes He humbles it through delay. Sometimes He strengthens it through waiting. Sometimes He purifies it through disappointment. Not because He wants to make life difficult, but because He wants your blessing to grow instead of becoming another reason for your destruction. Many people only think Allah is working when doors are opening, but some of Allah's greatest work happens while the doors remain closed. The waiting season is never empty. It is full of unseen work. Perhaps Allah is teaching you patience. Perhaps He is teaching you to trust Him instead of your own calculations. Perhaps He is removing pride before giving you success. Perhaps He is teaching gratitude before increasing your provision. Perhaps He is protecting you from people who would have entered your life at the wrong time. Perhaps He is arranging events across years that must happen before your dua arrives. Remember this, Allah is not only preparing the blessing, sometimes He is preparing the people connected to that blessing. You may be praying for a righteous spouse. While you wait, Allah is preparing both hearts. You may be praying for meaningful work. While you wait, Allah is opening opportunities you cannot yet see. You may be praying for relief. While you wait, Allah is removing dangers that would have accompanied immediate relief. The believer often sees only the silence. Allah sees the preparation. That is why comparing your life to other people is so dangerous. You see someone else's blessing, you do not see their test. You see someone else's success. You do not see the years of struggle before it. Most importantly, you do not know Allah's plan for either of you. Every servant has a different journey, different lessons, different timing, different responsibilities, different tests. Allah never promised that every believer would receive everything at the same moment, but He promised perfect justice. He promised perfect wisdom. He promised that no good deed would ever be lost. So stop measuring Allah's love by the speed of His answers. Some of the quickest blessings disappear just as quickly. Some of the longest delays produce the greatest rewards. Look at fruit growing on a tree. Not every fruit ripens at the same speed. Some appear early, others remain hidden much longer. But when the time is right, each one appears exactly when it was meant to. The farmer does not become angry with the tree because it has not produced fruit too soon. He understands that forcing the process ruins the harvest. Allah's wisdom is far greater than the wisdom of any farmer. If He delays something, it is never because He forgot. It is because He knows exactly when your heart, your circumstances, and your future are ready to receive it. There is another reason delay feels so painful. Delay exposes what your heart truly depends on. When life moves according to your plans, trusting Allah feels easy. But when nothing happens according to your schedule, something deeper is revealed. Do you worship Allah only when life is comfortable? Or do you trust Him even when you cannot understand Him? This is where patience becomes something much greater than simply waiting. True patience is not counting the days until life changes. True patience is continuing to obey Allah while nothing seems to change. It is continuing to pray when the answer has not arrived. It is continuing to lower your gaze even though temptation surrounds you. It is continuing to earn honestly even when dishonest people appear to move ahead. It is continuing to forgive even when your own heart is still healing. It is continuing to thank Allah even while carrying unanswered questions. That kind of patience transforms a person. It removes desperation. It removes entitlement. It removes arrogance. It teaches complete reliance upon Allah. Slowly, you become someone different. You stop chasing every opportunity. You begin asking Allah which opportunity is truly good for you. You stop forcing doors open. You begin trusting the doors Allah opens naturally. You stop believing your timeline is more important than His wisdom. That change inside you is one of the greatest blessings of the waiting season, because Allah is not merely delaying an event, He is building a believer. My brother, my sister, imagine if Allah answered every single prayer immediately. Would we ever learn patience? Would we ever truly depend upon Him? Would we ever discover the strength hidden inside our own faith? Sometimes the waiting season teaches lessons that comfort never could. It teaches humility, it teaches surrender, it teaches contentment, it teaches complete trust. It teaches you that your relationship with Allah is not based on receiving everything you ask for. It is based on believing that whatever He chooses is always wiser than whatever you would have chosen for yourself. One day, you may stand exactly where you once begged Allah to place you. You may finally receive the blessing that seemed impossible. And when you look back, you may realize something unexpected. If Allah had answered your prayer when you first asked, you would not have been ready. You would have carried the blessing with the same impatience, fear, pride, or emotional weakness that once controlled you. Instead, Allah used the delay to reshape your character. He strengthened your faith. He deepened your trust. He softened your heart. He purified your intentions. He taught you that the greatest gift was never only the blessing itself. The greatest gift was the believer you became while waiting. So if you are still waiting today, do not think your story has stopped. Do not believe that silence means Allah is absent. The builder works even when the building is hidden behind walls. The gardener works long before flowers appear. The sunrise begins while the world is still dark. And Allah may already be writing your next chapter while you think nothing is happening. Trust His timing. Remain sincere in your worship. Continue making dua. Continue doing good. Continue being patient. Because the blessing that arrives after Allah has fully prepared your heart often brings a peace that no rushed blessing could ever provide. Perhaps your delay is not standing between you and your future. Perhaps it is the bridge Allah is using to carry you safely into it. Lesson 5. What Allah removes may be the very thing blocking your rise. One of the hardest things to accept in life is that sometimes Allah answers your prayer by removing what you wanted to keep. You may have been asking Allah to give you peace, but then someone left your life. You may have been asking Allah to give you clarity, but then a door closed. You may have been asking Allah to bring you closer to Him, but then the things you loved started feeling heavy. You may have been asking Allah to guide you, but then life became uncomfortable in places where you used to feel safe. At first it feels confusing. You think, Allah, I asked you for ease. Why did I lose this? You think, Allah, I asked you to fix my life. Why did this person walk away? You think, Allah, I asked you for happiness. Why does my heart feel empty? But my brother, my sister, sometimes what you lose is not the punishment. Sometimes what you lose is the protection. Sometimes Allah removes something from your hands because it was slowly removing peace from your heart. Sometimes Allah takes something out of your life because if it remained, it would have taken you away from your next chapter. And this is where faith becomes deeper. Because it is easy to trust Allah when He gives. But a believer's trust becomes powerful when they can still trust Allah when He removes. Most of us only understand mercy when it arrives as a gift. We understand mercy when the door opens, when the dua is answered the way we wanted, when the person stays, when the opportunity comes, when the pain ends. But there is another form of mercy, a mercy that feels like loss at first, a mercy that feels like distance, a mercy that feels like rejection, a mercy that feels like being blocked, a mercy that makes you cry today, but saves you from something worse tomorrow. That mercy is difficult to understand while you are still hurting, because the heart sees what it loves, but Allah sees what it leads to. Your heart may love a person. Allah sees the damage that person may cause to your faith, your peace, your future, and your self-respect. Your heart may love a path. Allah sees where that path may end. Your heart may love a dream. Allah sees whether that dream would bring you closer to Him or make you forget Him. Your heart may love comfort. Allah sees whether that comfort is making your soul sleep. This is why removal is sometimes the beginning of rescue. You may cry over the thing Allah removed, but Allah may have been saving you from a pain you were not strong enough to recognize yet. There are people who look like blessings in the beginning, but become heavy tests later. There are opportunities that look golden from the outside, but carry corruption inside. There are relationships that feel emotional, but slowly weaken your dignity. There are friendships that make you laugh, but pull your heart away from Allah. There are habits that give quick comfort, but steal your long-term peace. And because you are human, you may not see the danger immediately. You may only see what you wanted. You may only see the memories. You may only see the attachment. You may only see the version of that thing that once made you happy. But Allah sees the whole picture. He sees the beginning, the middle, and the end. He sees the hidden intentions. He sees the unseen consequences. He sees what would happen to your heart if that thing stayed. So when Allah removes it, the first pain may feel sharp, but the hidden mercy may be deeper than you realize. Think about a person holding a rope tied to something harmful. They do not know what is on the other side. They only feel the rope in their hands. They think, "This belongs to me. I must not let go." But the rope is tied to something dragging them toward danger. Then someone stronger comes and cuts the rope. At first, the person becomes upset. They say, "Why did you cut what I was holding?" But they did not see the danger attached to it. Allah sees what is attached to the things you hold. You may only see love. Allah sees whether it will lead to regret. You may only see opportunity. Allah sees whether it will lead to arrogance. You may only see comfort. Allah sees whether it will lead to spiritual laziness. You may only see loss. Allah sees freedom. And sometimes, the removal hurts because your heart was tied too tightly to what was never meant to stay. That pain is not proof that Allah is against you. That pain may be proof that Allah is untying you from what you were too weak to release by yourself. Many people ask Allah for a new life while still holding on to the old chains. They ask Allah for peace, but they keep returning to people who disturb their soul. They ask Allah for healing, but they keep touching the wound. They ask Allah for growth, but they refuse to leave the environment that keeps them small. They ask Allah for guidance, but they keep defending what is clearly leading them away from Him. So Allah, in His wisdom, sometimes removes what you keep choosing over your own peace. He removes what you keep excusing. He removes what you keep romanticizing. He removes what you keep calling love, even though it keeps making you forget your worth. He removes what you keep calling comfort, even though it keeps making you weak. He removes what you keep calling opportunity, even though it keeps making you compromise your values. And when He removes it, your heart breaks. But maybe that break is the beginning of your rise, because the next chapter requires space. A heart that is full of unhealthy attachment has no room for a healthier blessing. A life crowded with the wrong people has no room for the right company. A mind filled with fear has no room for trust. A soul addicted to old pain has no room for new peace. Before Allah raises a servant, He may first empty their hands, not to humiliate them, but to prepare them to receive what is better. Think of a person carrying stones in both hands while asking for gold. Their hands are full. They say, "Give me something better," but they refuse to drop what they are already holding. Would it make sense to place gold in hands that are still holding stones? Sometimes Allah removes the stones, and because the servant was attached to them, they cry. They do not realize that empty hands are not always a sign of loss. Sometimes empty hands are preparation. Sometimes Allah empties your life before He fills it with what your old life could not hold. This is why the season of removal can feel so lonely. People leave, plans change, old desires fade, certain doors stop opening. Your heart no longer feels at home in places where it once felt comfortable. And you may think, "I am losing everything," but maybe you are not losing everything. Maybe Allah is removing what cannot travel with you into your next chapter. Not every person can walk with you where Allah is taking you. Not every habit can survive in the life Allah is building for you. Not every desire belongs in the heart Allah is purifying. Not every dream is worthy of your future. Sometimes Allah does not give you a full explanation. He simply creates distance. He creates discomfort. He closes a door. He lets the truth appear. He allows someone's real character to show. He allows your heart to become tired of the same cycle. And suddenly, you no longer have the strength to keep forcing what Allah is already ending. That tiredness may be mercy, because some endings do not happen when you understand everything. Some endings happen when Allah gives your heart enough exhaustion to finally stop returning to what hurts it. You may call it being tired, but it may be Allah giving you the strength to let go. You may call it losing interest, but it may be Allah removing the sweetness from something harmful. You may call it distance, but it may be Allah protecting your soul. You may call it rejection, but it may be Allah redirecting your life. This is why you must be careful during a season of removal. Do not immediately run after what Allah is taking away. Do not keep knocking on a door Allah is closing with mercy. Do not keep begging for someone who keeps damaging your heart. Do not keep forcing a path that keeps pulling you away from prayer, peace, and dignity. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is not holding on. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is letting Allah remove what you do not yet understand. That does not mean you become careless with people. It does not mean you become harsh. It does not mean you stop loving. It means you stop worshipping what Allah has clearly shown you is harmful. It means you trust Allah more than your attachment. It means you believe that what Allah removes for your protection was never your true loss, because anything that takes you away from Allah is not a blessing, no matter how beautiful it looks. Anything that destroys your peace is not mercy, no matter how much your heart wants it. Anything that forces you to become a smaller, weaker, more sinful version of yourself is not meant to be your future. Allah does not remove without knowledge. Allah does not close without wisdom. Allah does not detach without mercy. And Allah never takes something from a sincere servant except that He can replace it with what is better for their faith, their heart, or their hereafter. But replacement does not always come immediately. Sometimes after removal, Allah gives silence, a space, a pause, a season where nothing new has arrived yet, but the old has already left. This is the part that tests the heart. Because you are standing between two chapters, you cannot go back, but you do not yet see what is ahead. This is where many people panic. They return to what hurt them because emptiness feels frightening. They reopen old doors because waiting feels painful. They mistake loneliness for a sign that they made the wrong decision. But my brother, my sister, emptiness is not always bad. Emptiness can be sacred. The empty space after removal is where Allah teaches you to rely on Him, not on replacements. Because if Allah removes something and you immediately fill the space with another attachment, you may miss the lesson. Sometimes Allah wants your heart empty for a while so it can remember who truly fills it. He wants you to sit with Him, return to Him, speak to Him, heal with Him, become strong with Him, so that when the next blessing comes, you do not depend on it the way you depended on the old one. You love it with gratitude, but your heart belongs to Allah. You enjoy it with balance, but your peace comes from Allah. You hold it with open hands, knowing that everything belongs to Allah. This is maturity. This is spiritual growth. This is how removal becomes elevation. One day you may look back at the thing you cried over and feel grateful that Allah removed it. You may remember the person you begged to stay and realize their absence protected your future. You may remember the door that closed and realize it saved you from a life that looked good but felt wrong. You may remember the delay, the distance, the heartbreak, the disappointment, and suddenly understand that Allah was not taking from you to destroy you. He was taking from you to free you. That day will be powerful, because the same thing that once looked like loss will begin to look like mercy. The same removal that once broke your heart will become proof that Allah saw what you could not see. And you will say, I did not understand it then, but Allah was saving me. So if Allah is removing something from your life right now, do not rush to despair. Ask Him for patience. Ask Him for clarity. Ask Him to remove from your heart what is not good for you. Ask Him to replace your attachment with trust. Ask Him to make you pleased with what He chooses. And ask Him never to return you to anything that He removed for your protection. Because your rise may begin with removal. Your next chapter may begin with an ending. Your healing may begin with distance. Your peace may begin with goodbye. And your closeness to Allah may begin with the very pain you thought would destroy you. Trust Allah with what leaves. Trust Allah with what stays. Trust Allah with what is delayed. Trust Allah with what is hidden. He knows what must be removed before you can rise. He knows what must end before you can heal. He knows what must be emptied before your hands are ready for something better. And when Allah is preparing your next chapter, He will not allow everything from the old chapter to follow you. Some things must stay behind. Some people must stay behind. Some habits must stay behind. Some dreams must stay behind. Not because Allah is taking your future away, but because He is protecting it. So let what Allah removes teach you. Let it humble you. Let it guide you back to Him. Let it make your heart cleaner, stronger, and more awake. Because what Allah removes may hurt for a season, but what Allah is preparing can heal you for a lifetime.